Hello, my name is Duncan Goheen. I'd like to just tell you a little bit about my history and background so you have a little better idea of who I am. I was raised in a small town in Ontario. It was 1,000 people. It was a small town, agricultural town. My father was in agribusiness, welding shop, and catered to the agricultural community. My grandfather had a farm about 6 miles out of town. Early memories include a lot of music. My grandfather used to bring the fiddle out from under the couch in the kitchen, and we had a very good time. My mother was a school teacher and thrived anytime she had students who were interested in music or in drama and so on. She spent a lot of time there. So I was raised in that environment. I was on the platform singing in public when I was 8 or 9 years old, playing the piano when I was 6, kind of a thing. So that's sort of an early childhood time. And I was quite fortunate. My father enjoyed flying, so by the time I was 12 years old, I was a co-pilot with him, and by the time I was 16, I had my pilot's license, and so there was some very good early memories. Always been very interested in sports, played a lot of ball, played a lot of hockey, and today do skiing and still playing ball, and doing a lot of camping and outdoors in the mountains here in British Columbia, where we're very fortunate to live here as well. So growing up, I went through university and in business and economics, but I was also interested in mental health. Part of that was I had 2 aunts who had serious mental health issues, and the treatment that they received at that time was not good, to put it kindly. One went into the hospital when she was in her early 20s and never came out of the hospital. And so I was very motivated to find ways and means of helping people on the mental health side. And so I was in a graduate social work program in Ontario, working with a team of psychologists, psychiatrists, and social workers. And we were doing work, but I felt that it was not very effective. So I decided I was going to do other things with my life, and so I was involved in work in the Philippines, actually, doing water projects and educational programs, health programs, and so on. When we saw many other things that were being done with health and healing and mental health that I was not familiar with. And part of the story there was Dr. Lee Poulos at the University of British Columbia, a psychologist there, had been involved with work in the Philippines. And so I visited with him and asked him what it is, who I should talk to there to get further insight. So he directed me to a fellow named Jimmy Lacaucau, who was writing for the Manila major newspapers, but he had also written 5 books on psychic surgery. So that took me into a whole other world that I had no knowledge about, and no training, no information, and it was quite a shock to my system, frankly, looking at how work was done in the subtle energy level that was extremely effective, but wasn't a part of any Western model of education or theory that I had ever studied. And, as I said, I'd gone through an undergraduate and graduate program, eventually a PhD program, and so on. But this work was at another whole level. And so that brought us into contact with Master Choa Kok Sui, who was doing some incredible work with health on all levels, but certainly with mental, emotional health. And that's what impressed me most initially, because in Western medicine there's a lot of good work being done in terms of broken bones and emergency care and so on, but in terms of mental emotional health, that still seemed to be the major issue in terms of shortfalls for our system. So when I saw the work that was being done with Pranic, then my wife Marilee and myself spent time with Master Choa. As a matter of fact, the first meeting with him, we went into his clinic. There were about 40 people gathered there, and we introduced ourselves to him. And he said, "What do you do?" He turned to me and said, "What do you do in terms of healing work?" And so I said, "Well, we're here to learn about the pranic work because we want to be able to take that to people, and we know that you're writing books, that you have step-by-step process and so on, and have done a lot of work, so we want to share that with others." But he wouldn't be put off. He kept insisting that I share what it is that I do. So I had been using quite a bit of sound for a number of years, harmonic overtones, and found that they were very curative, had a very curative effect. As a matter of fact, we'll be doing a separate video talking a little bit about how that all came about, because it was a mystical experience, to say the least. But anyway, I ended up doing 3 or 4 minutes of harmonic overtones with the intention of being healing and curative. And then from the back of the room came a man who was crying and claiming that he'd just experienced a miracle. And so when he was questioned what he experienced, he said he'd been in the hospital that morning in emergency services for chronic emphysema, and he couldn't breathe. And he said with harmonic overtones, his lungs opened up, he was able to breathe, and he was just overjoyed with the results. And so at that time, Master Choa turned to me and said, "Well, you don't need to be here and learn the pranic. Use your sound, go back and record it and make it available to the world." And so after some discussion, I said, "Yeah, I will do that, but we also want to learn the pranic and learn to be teachers of this to share with a broad audience of people." So that was another little bit of history there. So we had clinics in Victoria on Vancouver Island for a number of years. We had Dr. Peter Nunn, who was with us, a medical doctor, this very gifted doctor, and many people that helped us out. And then we've been in the Okanagan here for a number of years now, and continue to do our work. And so we're very excited about being able now to bring our work online and to expose it to a much larger number of people around the world with the platforms that are now available. So that's a little bit of history for you, and we look forward to meeting you online, and please get in touch, email. We have a website, it's globalhealthify.com, globalhealthify.com, or email us at info@globalhealthify.com, and we'd be very happy to meet you and to talk with you. Thanks again for watching this.